Let's quickly move because I think we may be in a jam for time. Actually, let's move to Atanu. Actually, Atanu, I think we have some very interesting dimensions similar to automotive in manufacturing as well. I think you have the same global supply chain problems. I think we have the demand for industries because of the global supply chain being impacted. I think a lot of localization had been happening. I think we need to shift to green energy ideas, cost optimization, all in quick time. Actually, we have seen many industries completely changing gears. And on top of it, we have a lot of industries moving into a lot more flexible lines. Suddenly, there is a lot of talk around oxygen cylinders coming from manufacturing industries, or UV lamps being made, or things like even all the protective gear that many of the healthcare had been demanding suddenly, which are in complete short supply, being manufactured by many of the manufacturing industries. So completely out of box ideas, which were probably leading into a lot more dynamism to what it was originally designed for, came around. On top of it, you have a digital ecosystem getting with integrated supply chains and Atmanirbhar, I think the made in India story evolving. I think with all this kind of, again, change, particularly for somebody like you, what was your response when you have worlds which was completely semi-automated and which are completely automated with IoT and so many other technologies? Were you ready for such change? No, what went into your mind during those pandemic times?
Right, great. Chandra Mouli, thanks for this opportunity. I am clearly audible, right?
Yes, very much, Atanu. Go ahead.
Yeah. So a few things I wanted to share that, from the oxygen concentrators perspective, I think our copper Dahej plant kind of supplied to the tune of 45 metric tons per day to the government of Gujarat for the last 2.5 months since this wave 2 kind of got to a critical stage, right? So we kind of quickly modified our internal oxygen requirement to make it into a portable oxygen concentrators and supply it to the government for distributing it to the people who required it during this critical phase. We also imported quite a number of oxygen concentrators through our US arm, Novelis, right? So people kind of tried to be innovative to make them, rather let them enter the Indian ports. Basically, we distributed the entry to 4 different ports, the east, west, south. We kind of distributed it, and it worked very well for the last 2.5 months. And honestly speaking, we were able to support many of our own colleagues as well as the industry, right? So that's while that is one part of it. Precisely from the, I would say, the improvisation from the production or from the product's perspective, the only point that I would like to say here is we don't have any major ways to improvise our product portfolio. The reason being that we are kind of I would say a fixed range of products company at this moment, unless we really change our production lines. Okay. So from that perspective, the point was we had to keep our production intact, which was a combination of safety guidelines, putting people into shift, making the production lines as autonomous as possible in that frame of time. We had to change our customer portfolio. So we did a different way to overcome the situation, right? In the beginning of last year, pandemic, like around March, April, May, June, that was one of the worst quarters, I think, worldwide. The first wave, the first 3 months, right? And then we kind of found out that the demand in Indian context had really dried out by end of May, June last year of the kind of products that we producing. And we quickly kind of shifted our supply base to the customers who were international customers, mainly to Europe and South African entities. And that made the major difference for us. We could kind of take care of the non-performance of the first quarter of the last financial year, and we ended the year 2021 pretty strongly, I would say. The board meeting was just few weeks back, so I can talk about it officially, right? So I would say in terms of IoT and automation, yeah, Chandra Mouli, to your point, the initiatives were already on to put in the IoTs, put in the CBMs, the condition-based monitoring systems, to kind of bring in the focus of improvement in the quality and production productivity through the IoT sensors. But yeah, during this time, it got a tremendous push, and we tried to capture the data and get to the insights and the analytics of that data, right? That got a tremendous push, and we really could derive some good value out of it. That was pretty much kind of available during I mean, at the right time, we could bifurcate or kind of channelize our efforts into automating our production improvement, quality improvement targets and KPIs.
Okay.
Right. I would probably add one more point, that in the IT automation perspective, yeah, I mean, it was nothing barely more than a requirement of access to the network from anywhere and anytime, because the users, not only were working from home, but they were really working from their village at some point in time, right? They went back, many people went back to their native places, their villages, right? Beginning of last year's situation. So, but we kind of, though I don't think anyone in the world can claim that they were ready and kind of prepared for this kind of pandemic, but we kind of managed that pretty well.
Okay, cool. See, Balaji, I think you have a tremendous story in terms of AIOps for a lot of this manufacturing and things like that. Does this really help in their operational efficiency? Because we just heard the concerns around loss of productivity, whatever it is, and then suddenly they're making it up in the last quarter. I think, can these things really be helpful when we are trying to do something as critical an infrastructure in manufacturing?
Absolutely. So I think I'll take two parts of the response. One is, as Mr. Prakash was alluding to, the changing business process, which he was having online sale. It was actually reflecting me that we are working with Ashley Furniture, Mr. Prakash, in the US, who was again a retail store. You buy those large, luxurious furniture, going to a store and buying it. They were not online. And all of a sudden, this pandemic pushed them. Because of the pandemic, because people are working from home, they wanted a lot of furniture, but they couldn't go and buy it. So they actually had to translate everything to an online e-commerce site. So they built a site and they were working on a larger supply chain business process problem, fetching raw materials from Vietnam, assembling them in some other part, and then polishing it off and getting it ready in the US. And again, the customers wanting to let them know how the furniture should be, because it's a luxurious furniture. Two things happened in the AI, using AIOps there, right? One is our ability to, like what Chandra said, our ability to do some self-learning of the data and provide some insights to them, saying that you're providing the commitment to your customer that you'll deliver like this, but your actual business process is not going to be able to deliver. So you have to do something to change it. So trying to read through the various business processes and providing the reliability and availability of the process. And the second one is figuring out, like what Chandra said, being able to relate the internal problems you're facing to what a customer need is, and then trying to bridge the gap. How can again something like an AI play a role there? And that's what something we are now putting an innovation team together with them to make it happen. Coming to Atanu, tremendous here. I mean, if you really reshape your business model and your revenue model, and what you just said about what you did on the oxygen concentrators and oxygen supplies to your own people, others, hats off. Proud to be an Indian, proud to have known Atanu and his company, that they have done something of this phenomenal nature. Really appreciate it. But Atanu, if I have to ask you one pertinent question as a CXO, what is it that keeps you awake at night these days from an IT perspective?
Right. So, Balaji, I mean, thanks for this. For the acknowledgement. Yeah, I mean, as a team, we are proud what we could deliver to the society for the last few months, definitely. So yeah, I mean, I would say the connectivity, honestly, Balaji. We are into, though not 100%, but some of our processes are continuous process, right? Let's say the sulfuric acid generation as a byproduct of copper plant in the hedge. Right, so that's a continuous process. We don't have a storage facility. So during the night, if for 10 minutes the connectivity is broken and we are not able to create e-invoices through the GST portal, I get an SOS probably at 1 o'clock in the night. Right. So a few of these things in the today's connected world, while our lives are becoming much better in one way, on the other way, we are so much dependent on the high availability of such infrastructure, on the reliability and on the almost 100% uptime is the expectation right now. Right. And that is where I think I would fear most, that at times, I don't have anything to do. I don't know rather what to do, but I have to be at the mercy of, okay, I know, I mean, we have our telecom friend here on this call, but still at times when a network goes down, everything is working from my application perspective, but that becomes the biggest challenge at times. Right? And with more and more applications, machineries becoming online and connected and integrated, I think that will be the biggest challenge in my mind, that will keep many CIOs kind of awake in the night, is the network connectivity, the high availability and reliability.
Understand. No, and you nailed it. And you nailed it, Tanu. That's the point which AI is trying to address. I mean, I wish the IIT professor was on this call. He would have elaborated you as to how the whole reinforcement learning algorithms which we are doing is actually enabling and driving what we call as service reliability, service assurance, and more importantly, observability. One of the big challenges some of the NASDAQ listed big giant banks are able to now want to look at is something called as observability. They are able to say that in these 10 hops, the data goes or the process flows, but this particular hop is actually becoming a bottleneck, or this particular hop is what is potentially creating a bottleneck or a problem. Identifying that much ahead of time and telling them very clearly that the remaining 9 hops are fine as in from a reliability perspective. It's not just saying it's up and running, but it is responding the way it is supposed to respond. And then being able to in an aggregate manner, being able to drive the outcome of the business process is what exactly this AIOps platform is right now doing. And that's what we are deploying in one of our consumer goods companies, customers in the US. So you nailed the point, Tanu. That's a challenge. And that's exactly what we are working on. And that's what exactly we are piloting in one of our consumer goods company. Their challenge is also to say, how do I reach the last mile of connectivity to be able to actually complete my business process? And the CIO kept telling that, can I know the problem, Balaji, before my business tells me?
Yep.
And that's worse, right? I actually lose my job. Right. So we actually are now giving him in such a way, Atanu, that he did not even know that certain business process existed. After we rolled out our platform, he came to know, oh my God, there were 4 other hops which it was going, which I never even knew, right? It was not known because it was legacy, but our platform was able to detect and tell him that such a thing is happening. You are not even monitoring that or not even looking at it. Actually speaking, some of the major problems actually happen in that processes he never even knew. So the platform has the ability to discover and identify such areas where probably human intelligence has not gone through. And those are things which we are applying in manufacturing and supply chain and in the retail space at this point in time. But interesting points you brought up.
Balaji. Yep, interesting.